Okay, greetings patriots, starseeds, light workers, and of course our very brave military. Welcome, 1776 United, and we are in a worldwide and galactic revolution. And I am Alex West, reporting from somewhere in the central Philippines. Now, the last couple days I've had the chance to review all the up-to-date political, geopolitical affairs. And this is what my take is, where we're going with this. As I said before, I'm not going to dwell on the events that have happened yesterday. I'm trying to let people know what I'm seeing coming based on the events that are unfolding. Now, we do know that they released the pullout of BlackRock out of eastern Ukraine. The lithium mines that they had totally came in and bought and owned and were producing lithium for all these cars and whatever was going to happen, right? They have walked away from that. The Russian military, the strength of them came in and completely, basically took it over, and anybody that was there guarding it has been disposed of. And we now know that the all of Western Ukraine has now been taken back by the Russian military. Now, let's just get one thing straight. And yes, I'm pro-Putin, I'm pro-Trump, okay? But let me just clarify a bunch of stuff here. Russia has always, or Ukraine was always a part of Russia. There was never any declaration, anything ever declared. No borders were ever lined up. It was a takeover by the globalists at the time of separation when Russia was weak. And Putin witnessed all this. Now, Putin accepted that whole deal at that time until the NAZIs, Khazarian NAZIs, they're called the Azovs, whatever you want to call them, took over Ukraine in 2000, basically came out of the ground and took over Ukraine in what they were doing. And NATO was lining up missiles along that border, pointing them into Russia. But the fact of the matter is they were there to protect their underground military dumps and their trafficking network ley lines under the ground. That was their, that was their bread and butter. They were also going, the Russian or the Ukrainian Azovs were going into Russia and stealing women and children along that borderline. And Putin knew this. And he said enough is enough. And he had to go back in and, he had been building his army since they separated back in 1985. He saw this coming, and he says the only way out of this is for us, our country of Russia, is to be sovereign. And that's how this has all come about. Now, I just give you a brief history of what that was. Now, where this is going is that Russia has now had all of the western Ukraine. They have also taken back the lithium mines, that very vital lithium mines and very valuable, which was originally Russia's anyways, and BlackRock has pulled out. So, and also Putin doesn't even recognize Zelensky as a leader. He was appointed by the cabal. He was never elected, and he's done crimes against humanity against the Ukrainian people. The Ukrainian, wanted liberation, and they were jumping up and down for joy. The fact is that as each town was taken over by Russians, you see, they won't. The CIA-controlled media will not, show you this, but they are, jumping in the streets for joy when they see the Russian military coming in, liberating their town or their cities or whatever they are doing. So this is like, World War II repeating itself, with the Germans and the Allies, and as the Allies were getting into there, they were, until they hit Germany, of course, then that'll change. But, they were, being liberated, and parades were going on as the Allies were going through, these towns and cities, liberating each town as they entered. Okay. Now he said that Israel is going to be left for last, and that's very, very true. Israel and the Khazar in Russia are connected. The Khazarians, not only, which was their homeland, and they've been battling Russia since 547 BC. Okay, they have been the arch enemy of each other, Russia and the Khazars. Okay, and Russia was Russia, and the Khazars, their homeland was basically in the eastern Ukraine. Okay, kind of a split off, and the mafia. That's what they were. They're just a mafia, very, very evil, Satan worshipping outfit. They had, when they got strong, through finances, through NATO and other areas that they infiltrated, were gathering money, stealing the American taxpayers' money through the SAID slush fund, and of course the Federal Reserve, which was, both those were doing harm to American people, because none of those monies were ever meant for the American people. They were stolen. That was stolen taxpayers' money to help build the Khazars' empire. Okay. Now, Russia knew all this, and they saw this all developing. Okay, but couldn't really do anything other than just survive and defend itself, which they were doing until Trump got in 2016. Now, that's when they went on the offensive, right? Russia, or Trump and Putin, are natural allies, and they knew that the both of them had to come together to bring this whole thing down. And Russia had to take care of Ukraine, as President Trump had to take care of Washington, D.C. The cabal, their main base of operation was Washington, D.C., the only 10 square mile area there that was held as a foreign country on American soil. And Trump just took that back. So it's becoming very, very close now that we are on the basic finish line of these events that are happening. And we can see that we're getting closer, because the takedown of the NAZI Khazarian empire, and of course the Israeli, the Khazars are moving out of there, if they haven't already, and tried to pull back into their homeland, which was eastern Ukraine, and they're just going back in there, and if they see an empty house or whatever, they're just moving in, because that's what they do. They just come in and take over, take the identity and use the identities, or whatever the case may be, or make up fraud identities to match up with the home and whatever, and that's what they do. And that's how they have become so powerful. Now they're on the survival mode. I don't think there's anything left of Israel, and I don't expect them to want to have anything left of Israel. Israel basically was inserted there after the Second World War by the sympathy of all the people around the world, thinking that Germans had, persecuted these Jewish people and whatever. But no, it was actually the German people, military, that were trying to take out the Khazarian mafia at that time, pretending to be the Jewish people, right? This is my analogy, and nobody has to take this, text, content, whatever you want to take it. I'm just telling you what my view of all this is happening based on my, pretty in-depth research on this. So where we're at now is that we're looking and facing the final days of Ukraine and Israel, and Putin is taking care of both of those at that end. Trump just took back Washington, and mark my words, he's not going to stop there. He's going to go into every blue city, LA included, because of the underground trafficking that's going on there, and the takedown of the stealing of billions of dollars through the governor there, and his henchmen that are all being rounded up, basically either they already been caught and arrested and tried. So you're looking at body doubles in there to continue the the illusion of trying to show the people this is why they're keeping this thing going. And then all of a sudden everything's going to just once everything's done, what the white hats want to do, right, then you're going to see a complete exposure. It's just everything's going to stop and it's going to be exposed, and this is the way it's going to, I believe that's how this is going to all end. Now, there will be a day for that. When it happens, it's going to happen. But like I said, until then, we are going to witness, day after day, week after week of more exposure to, and the main objective for all this in this methodical, monotonous events that are happening, which is really, really hard on very hard on the patriots and the people of the intuitive consciousness that see all this. It's very, very hard on us to be able to see all this unfolding at a very, very low speed. Because we want things to speed up, because based on what we're able to see, for the average liberal with no intuitive consciousness, they have no idea what's going on. And you're going to see a lot of people coming on TikTok, and TikTok's it's all Chinese military run, okay? So don't think for 1 minute that I see the difference, because I bounce from the Rumble to back to TikTok, and TikTok absolutely demonizes Putin and Trump for what they're doing right now. So I know that they're in control, but they just insert just enough pro-Trump, pro-Putin, just to keep people unsuspected. But you will not see any of that by a North American run company like Rumble. You won't see any of that stuff. It's all basically, true events. It's all, stuff that is actually happening. And I resonate with that a lot more than I would TikTok, because I'm trying to, put a lot of my own comments in there and calling out the ignorance is dangerous, and that's what I'm seeing on TikTok. So they're doing what they can to demonize this whole thing that's coming down. Remember one thing, folks. Trump has to collapse everything, not just in the United States, but he has to collapse the whole financial, the structural, the educational, the medical, everything has to come down, because it's all so corrupt. It's not there for humanity's best interest. It all has to come down and be rebuilt for humanity's best interest. Okay, so I hope I explained that properly, and if you have any comments, I'd like to hear from you. Bye for now.